Hola y bienvenidos a la clase de español. My name is Mr. Lesnick. I am your child's Spanish teacher, and I just want to give a quick hello before we dive deeper into the material for our class and more information about that. So I'll give you a quick tour of our classroom. The first thing you're going to see are these flags behind me, these flags of the Spanish-speaking countries. If you watch my weekly videos that I put out, you might know the answer to how many countries there are in the world that speak Spanish. If not, you can ask your child, they should know the answer. Over here I have a new board which focuses on nuestros héroes, our heroes. So there's a bunch of different Hispanic folk who have contributed or influenced the world in some way. There's only 12 right now, but I try to get a diverse array of countries and areas. So for example, we have a scientist, we have a politician, we have an athlete, we have an artist, we have a musical artist, we have an author, kind of all over. So we're trying to get as many different kind of experiences that there are. Over here, I have my question words. I'm always over here saying, oh, cuando, trying to give visual representations to these words. ¿Quién? ¿Qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Qué significa? ¿Por qué? All of these so that our students can learn just a little bit better. This is one of my favorite posters. Let me zoom in for you. It says, comete errores, así es como aprendes. So make mistakes, that's how you learn. And then on back, we have our calendar. We're doing our calendar every day, and I'm just getting used to speaking Spanish. Up above my board, I have some common phrases or important things to say. My students also seem to like the LED lights. I think it adds some fun to the classroom. Over here, I always love bringing in authentic uses of the language. So these are actually some COVID posters from the CDC that are published in Spanish. We don't necessarily work with them, but I think having them around our room is really important. Then I also, not gonna lie, I splurged a little this summer and bought a bunch of these books from Little Libros. And so these are all sorts of cities, all different places in the Spanish-speaking world. So we have Panama City, Bogota, Havana, Lima, San Juan, Oaxaca, Antigua, and San Salvador. So we haven't really used these in our class yet, but you can see it's kind of just a quick glimpse and an introduction to the different places or different cities that speak Spanish. If I go back up, you'll see our plástico picado, which is another decoration. Our plástico picado, which is a traditional decoration that's often made with paper, not plastic, but in a classroom, plastic just tends to last a little longer. Here are our flags. I'm definitely working on getting some more flags. We have Spain, we have Honduras. I have been to Honduras 5 times, and we have Puerto Rico. I will definitely add some more soon, but that is coming in time. This is one of my favorite walls as well. This is kind of a collection of different things in Spanish that people have around their homes or their communities. This is, I don't know if you remember the Taco Bell commercial, but this is Yo Quiero Taco Bell. So it is a dog that oops, no, not fall, don't fall. It is a dog that a student brought in last year. This is a Betty Crocker recipe where the right side is in Spanish. We have a can of beans. This is the map from Magic Kingdom. Actually, Miss Nolan brought this in, so if you're watching, thank you for that. Muchas gracias. And over here, this is an event actually from Mr. Owen. So shout out to Mr. Owen. I will also ask your child if they have anything, or of course, if you have anything you want to contribute to this wall. We definitely have some more space we can add, and I'm always looking to expand. Then if we go over here, this is my desk, and this is Miss Littman's desk. I share my room with Miss Littman, Senora Littman, and I'll show you this. There's a lot going on back here, but I really love books. I really love that authentic use, and I am a seawolf. Yo soy un seawolf, so I always try to represent that as well. So I have some books here also from Little Libros, but these are focused on people. So Dolores, Pelé, Selena, Zapata, Ellen, Walter, and Evita, and some other books as well. Those, unfortunately, are older than me, but these we will use a lot more in our class. So I believe that is it I have to show you for my class. I want to always provide as much visual as possible, as much visual support, as much cultural immersion as possible. So let's go into some more information about our class. Bienvenidos al Español 7. Let's dive into this. I know you have a lot of these to watch. I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible. But hola, me llamo Professor Lesnick. My name is Mr. Lesnick. Just a little bit about myself before we get into the class. This is my second year teaching Spanish here at West Hollow and in Half Hollow Hills. Last year, I was split between West Hollow and High School East. So if you have any 12th graders or anyone in the Spanish Honor Society, I may know them. I graduated Stony Brook University with my master's in teaching in May 2020. Also have a bachelor's in Hispanic language and literature as well as linguistics. And I'm currently pursuing another master's in trauma-informed education. So something I tell my students is that I was a student when the pandemic started, and I still am a student. So I'm always trying to be flexible. I'm always trying to work with students, and I understand how difficult it can be with all the things going on, and especially looking at the trauma that some of us have experienced during this pandemic alone. But of course, in all different aspects of our life, I'm always trying to be as understanding and flexible as possible. So at any time, if there's anything I can do for you, for your student, for your family, please, please, please let me know. Whether that's this year, whether that's down the line, I hope you know I'm always here for you and especially for your students. Let's dive into this. Happy Back to School Day 2021. I'm sorry that we can't be in person, although I am a little sniffly, so it's probably a little better that we're doing it on Zoom or through video. Here's some important information that I tell my students. First off, this is a Spanish class, which means I'm going to be speaking a lot of Spanish. And let me tell you, this is my first year teaching 7th grade, and I am beyond impressed with how well the 7th graders are doing. I have pretty much been speaking only in Spanish, and they have been picking so much up, really since day one, only in Spanish, and they really have been picking a bunch up. I'm really just super happy with them. And with that, I tell them they have two jobs. Of course, one of our biggest jobs is to improve our language and communication skills. This is a Spanish class. We're going to be communicating the language. We're going to be developing language skills. It's just obvious. And a fun fact is that by learning another language, we're also able to develop our English skills as well. So by learning Spanish, we're enhancing our English skills. So that's really cool too. But the biggest way to do this, the biggest thing I have for them is that I ask them to try, right? Especially in 7th grade. Most of our students have no Spanish language background, and that's okay. Some of them do, and that's awesome. I need them to try. All that looks like is that they're raising their hand. And maybe that's asking a question, maybe that's answering a question. They're taking risks, right? That poster we looked at before, make mistakes. That's okay. That's what we're here to do because this is a place to grow and develop. And they're going to take risks and leaps, and they might fall and stumble, or they might keep running. But they're going to grow either way because when they fall and stumble, they're going to get back up, or they're going to help their other classmates up, and we're just all going to keep growing and developing together. So that is huge. Our classroom is all about learning. It's about a community, and that is really, really important to me. I'm not going to dive too much into this, but basically there's 3 modes of communication. Interpretive communication, they're going to hear the language, and they're going to read the language. Interpersonal, they're going to talk with partners. They're going to talk with classmates. They're going to talk with me as well. And presentational, this is going to be like their homeworks. This is going to be like a project or a presentation to the class, a much more formal use of the language where they're speaking or they're writing in very formal ways. Not stressful, but formal ways. Here are some class objectives. In Spanish 7, we're going to talk about the activities I like to do and I don't like to do. We're going to begin to describe myself, my friends, my family, other people. I'll be able to discuss my school day compared to others' school days. Talk about food and beverages and healthy options and not healthy options and what my favorite food is and what I eat for breakfast and what I eat for dinner and all of that. And I'll be able to conjugate verbs. We're going to learn that word conjugate, which is really fun. Basically, we're laying the foundations for future Spanish use. We're only a year in, and I want to remind them we, for the most part, have no experience with Spanish, but I also like to ask, how did you learn your first language? How did you learn English? How did you learn Korean? How did you learn Hindi? How did you learn those languages at home? Because for you as well, I'm sure your parents didn't sit you down with a textbook and say, here's a noun, here's a gerund. What are the verbs in this sentence? How do the pronouns replace the subject? Which are the subject pronouns and the direct object? That's not how we learn language. That's how we might enhance our language, but it's not how we first learn our language. And so, really, we're kind of like babies. We're back in kindergarten, we're back in pre-K, and we have to do all of those things. So cognitively, mentally, our students are at a much higher level. So we're going to touch on things like conjugate verbs. We're going to touch on things like subject pronouns. But also, we're kind of at a preschool or kindergarten level with our Spanish right now. So we're going to be singing lots of songs. We're going to be repeating a whole lot. We're going to be doing very basic things. And we're going to be making mistakes with those basic things, and that's totally okay. Let's keep going. Our grade breakdown. So for every language class going forward in any language, this is the grade breakdown. So you have 40% tests and projects, 30% quizzes, 20% participation, 10% homework. Participation, I ask students what that looks like, and there's a pretty good consensus. So 1, participating in class, sharing out, right? Asking questions, answering questions. We do a lot of choral repetition. So I might say, repiten, grades in class. And then they'll all say grades in class. Obviously, it's usually something in Spanish. And that counts as participation. But also, a lot of students might get nervous being the only one to speak. So it's not only raising your hand and sharing something, it might also be when we're working in partners, are you paying attention? Are you helping your partners? Are you collaborating? Are you supporting others? Because that's participation as well. Tests, projects, quizzes, homework always can be made up for full credit anytime. I'm going to talk about that next slide, but we'll get there. Extra help before I dive into that. Extra help, I have Tuesday morning 7 to 7:45, Thursday afternoon 2:45 to 3:30, and of course as needed. So if a student has tennis practice after school and swimming practice before school and they cannot, let me know. I am as flexible as I can be, and I am here for your students, right? That is my job, quite literally. I do want to talk about grade makeup. So again, if a student fails a test, fails a quiz, if a student gets a grade that they don't like, they really wanted a 90 and they got 75. If they really wanted 100 and they got a 98, they can make it up for full credit. They'll get a different version of the quiz, of the test, of the homework, but they will be able to make it up for full credit as long as it's within the quarter. So because of the way grades work at our level, it has to be made up within the quarter. So for quarter one, that deadline is November 5th. Any work, any missing work, it can be submitted late. It can be submitted, I don't know, they could come in one day and say, Mr. Lesnick, I am not ready for this quiz. Can I take this next week? Absolutely. No questions asked. Go to the back of the room and take out your notes and study, or go to the back of the room and do what you need to do, right? Sometimes, again, there could be all sorts of things going on. I want to work with your students. Not to say I'm not going to hold them to high expectations, because they still have to be accountable for their work. They still have to keep their grades up, but I'm going to work with them. This is a non-negotiable deadline. November 5th is 1 week before the quarter ends. I need that week to catch up. A lot of students take advantage of that, as they should. And so I need to make sure that my gradebook is up and accurate. And it's only fair, of course, for the students and for me to make sure that I have that time to accurately grade everyone's makeups. These are the deadlines for the other quarters as well. It's 1 week before the quarter ends. Okay. Again, if they get, say, a 90 and they really want to shoot for 100, they think they can get 100, or they think they get a 95 and they take it, it's a different version. And maybe they were so stressed and they got an 85 on this one. The higher grade stays with them. Okay. So again, I want to see that your student is able to master the skills. Mastery is 85% or above. That makes me happy. I want to see 85% or above across the board. And your student and we're going to get there. And sometimes we'll get there on that first test day. Sometimes we're going to work a little bit extra, go to extra help, do some review, do some extra practice, and we'll get there maybe next week or next month. We're going to get there, I promise. Okay, into the future. At the end of 8th grade, we have a state, quote unquote, state exam, checkpoint A, that goes on their high school transcript, which goes off to colleges. 8th grade determines their honors track, if they go into honors or regular in the high school. And all of that can affect college applications as well. This is not for this year, this is for next year, but I always like to bring it up because it is super important. And it has a lot of impact. All right, last thing. This is my email. Please reach out to me anytime. But before that, I also want this form is somewhere on this page. Please fill out this form. It means a lot to me to be in contact with you. Continued communication between your family and my classroom is a huge support for your child and for me. I obviously much prefer positive calls home, positive emails, great reports. Negative phone calls have to happen once in a while. And also not positive, not negative, just informational things like, hey, we have a really important test coming up, or hey, I've noticed that your student is missing 5 assignments and I want to make sure that everything's okay. What's going on? How can I help? Right? So if this is not for an emergency, right? If this is like, if the school needs to call for an emergency, they have your contact information. So if you're watching this, if you want to put your name, your partner's name, family members, whoever I would be contacting, put your name, your names, your children or children's names. I'm trying to think of my 7th grade if I have any siblings. I know I have some 8th grade siblings. Not sure about 7th, but either way, if you have any siblings, you can put both their names there. And then again, for non-emergencies, how can I reach out to you? What's the best way or best ways? Sometimes it's multiple. Canvas Messenger, email, phone call, text, Zoom call, home visit, right? Sometimes if it's not an emergency and you're really busy with work, you don't want to be burdened with a phone call. Sometimes a text or an email is just easier because you'll get the message and you'll see, and you won't have to worry that Half Hollow Hills is calling you. Sometimes Some of my parents never check email and they would just prefer a phone call. Totally okay. You can put I prefer. This is okay, meaning like, it's acceptable. It's not ideal, but it's okay. And please don't. So like this last one, home visit. Home visit, I would say, is a very unique situation for like a family that really is not using cell phones. They're really not checking email. Home visit, maybe a student's living with grandma or grandpa, and home visit is just the best option. Or maybe mom or dad even, and a home visit might just be better in person because cell phone minutes are really precious and we don't want to waste them, or our internet access is limited. You let me know. But if you say, "Hey, please don't come to my house," I'm not going to take that offense as an offense. We're still in a pandemic, right? I'm going to be mindful of that too. If I ever come to your house, I am vaccinated. I'll share that. I'm vaccinated. I will wear a mask. But that works. Whatever works for you. So you can share this. You don't have to fill all of them out. Just whatever works for you. So say whatever. If you put email, Zoom, phone call, text, let me know what numbers work for you. If you don't fill it out, I'll just go off what Infinite Campus says. It's usually your home phone number, and then whoever's listed as the primary, parent, or adult, or caretaker, I'll go with their first phone number, and then I'll go to the secondary person. It's just however they're listed. And then finally, if there's anything you want to share about your child, or if you have any questions, I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Please, please, please let me know. Obviously, if your child has an IEP or a 504, I can see that. I have a little bit more information. Maybe we've talked on the phone already about your child, or if they have a resource room teacher, we may have talked already. But let me know about your child. If there's anything that helps me get to teach them better, get to know them better, it's definitely helpful for me. And I've asked your students to share some as well. But we know students sometimes get shy. They don't want to share. No worries. You don't ever have to feel pressure to share anything. But if you think it would be helpful for me, I would appreciate it. All right, that is all I have. I'm sure this was like 20 minutes. I'm so sorry, but I really hope that it is beneficial. I'm really excited to get to know you and the rest of your family this year, as well as your student. I'm really excited for this year. Our 7th graders are absolutely phenomenal, and I cannot wait for such an amazing year. So, muchísimas gracias. Nos vemos pronto, and hopefully soon we'll be able to meet each other in person one day. Adios, and take care.